Welcome back to the Smugglers Den. This is episode 35. I'm your host, Tiny Grimes. As always, I'd like to thank swdestiny.com. Go there for all kinds of cool stuff. They host the Smugglers Den. You can go to brokenegggames.com for all your gaming needs. And you know what? You can go to flipsidegaming.com for the new article series by Tiny Grimes. This week I'm going to be talking about advanced or deck building for the competitive player. And then finally, you can go to Patreon, Tiny Grimes, and help support the show there. Anything helps. Next week, we're going to be doing a Patreon question and answer session as the episode, so that should be a lot of fun. If you want to go check out the tier list, you want to submit some questions, go support the show now. $1 a month is greatly appreciated if you can scrape that out of your couches. If you can't, no problem, man. Keep watching, keep listening. Great to have you. And this week, I want to bring in a guy that you haven't heard from before, Mike Gemme of the Hyperloops. I'm just kidding. Everyone knows Mike Gemme. Mike,
happy
what's
to be
up?
here for the first time.
I consider you to be the Hyperloops, and then you have like two other dudes who hang out with you and clearly don't know anything. Would
So,
that
like,
be
if
accurate?
we had a CD, they would be blurry in the background of our CD cover.
Hell yeah, they would. They wouldn't even be on the cover. It would just be you with a mic, and then you'd see like the fingers of them as they're holding their instruments. That's what their role would be.
Yeah, I think that's only because you only invite me on. You don't invite them on.
Well, one of them has told me very clearly that he coughs every 2 seconds, and I do not have the editing prowess to take care of that kind of business. And the other
True.
guy, that's true. I haven't invited him on yet, and I feel bad about that now. Now you made me feel bad.
I'll be the front man. That's
I
cool.
need
Don't
a
worry.
moment to gather myself. All right, I'm gathered.
Gather
All right,
it up.
Mike, I had the coolest thing happen last night. I went
Okay.
to a tournament. It's a shop that's like 2 minutes from my house, and I only get one night a week. And instead of driving 2 minutes every week, I drive an hour and 20 minutes each way every week. But this week I couldn't
Damn.
do that. So I drove the 2 minutes to my local shop. I go in there, and you know what, Mike? I got to be a random. It was amazing. I was random guy.
No one knew you?
No one knew me except for my buddy Jimmy, who I went to play with because I knew he was going to be playing Funkar, and I had a deck I wanted to run against Funkar. I couldn't get there early enough to get a bunch of games in with him. But I sit down. I got this mill deck that I wanted to throw out there. It's Smurley's new take on some mill. And this little kid was playing me, and his uncle's like, "Oh, you got a Smugglers Den playmat?" And I was like, "Yeah. You know them?" And he's like, "Not really. I just started playing the game. But they seem cool." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Yeah." And, just playing, having fun. And then I beat Jimmy in the second round. It was only a 3-round event. It was kind of small. And the TO was like, "Jimmy, you won, right? You got him, right, Jimmy?" And Jimmy's like, No, Tiny won." He's like, "Jimmy, you lost?
You never lose.
Someone beat Jimmy?" And that's why I got to be the random dude that rolled into a shop and beat the local hero. Oh, God, it was so fun.
Yeah, you must have felt like you were wearing like a fake mustache.
Yeah, it was great.
You must
Won
not
the
have had your hat on.
tournament. They're all like, "Who's this tiny guy? He's awesome." And I was like, "He is. He's the best."
Do you sign up under your real name or do you sign up under Tiny Grimes?
I signed
when
up
you
with
sign?
Tiny Grimes, and then it's just fun. Like, if you're kind of new to the game, you don't know. You're probably not watching every podcast and listening to. And there's so many of them anyway. It's not like you're gonna really isolate the one. So it was
Sure.
great. I don't
Yeah,
usually
that's
get
cool.
that. Usually. And I kind of like being known because I'm a social person. It makes that transition easier to walk into a room and have people feel like they know you. Then they come talk to you. And I really enjoy that anyway. But it was really nice one day to just be random.
I gotta say, I'm just jealous that you have such like a healthy local scene that you can go to 2 shops where they have like tournament nights. We try and have like win-a boxes and local nights, and we get like 6 people. And the store champs get good turnouts of like 30, but everything else is just like I might as well just stay home and play TTS. So that's what I do.
That's really weird. Ours, we have tons of shops. Almost, I think every night, every day of the week, you can go play a tournament at some shop.
Yeah, that's
and they
insane.
all do fine. Like, this is
I
the
guess-
small one, and they had 8 last night. That's the smallest
The
one
one-
I've seen.
The one in Boston, I think, gets a pretty good turnout, but it's just it's pretty far
Gotcha.
for me to do that.
I thought all of Massachusetts was Boston.
I'm sure you did. I live in the boonies. I live in central Massachusetts. It's just my town doesn't have garbage collection. We bring it to the dump.
No,
Yeah,
come on. I,
truth.
so you live in a town in Massachusetts in like 1880?
My house was built in 1880. Exactly. I have a
Whoa!
sign on the front of my house that says built in
Damn,
1880.
I'm amazing. This is what you
That's
get
older
when you
than
get
California.
a scholar of history when you're talking to him.
That's right. Nice eyeball there.
Thanks.
Either that or you've been camping out outside my house.
Okay, all right.
Really weird.
True story. I'm your stalker. I didn't want to admit it right here live, but I am.
You really want those secret Hyperloops deck lists, I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I do. I do. So Mike, how's your Destiny been going this week?
Solid. Just play testing. Play testing my brains out. I've been working still on POMAS. I'm still on that train, trying to make it work. I've been doing the retreat thing, which I think has been like really good enough to keep it in the conversation for sure. So I like that. I've been working a lot on Aura Singh because like she just runs people over. I turn one killed an Anakin the other day, which I thought was pretty badass.
That's game over, right? Like you tell me you won that game.
Well, the other character was FN 2199.
Oh, did you lose?
I did not. I did lose. Yeah.
Woo! Oh, dang! Is that ever a
Aura,
good segue?
Aura died. I think Aura was only able to do like 2 damage on turn 2 before she died, like with the fast hands, and then Balatik couldn't get there versus FN.
Wait, Balatik, why wasn't your other character just 9s and then it'd been 9s on 9s?
It would have been 9s on 9s, but I'm so into Arm to the Teeth that I have a hard time. And honestly, he rolled a shield which got him out of Arm to the Teeth range, and then like was like 1 damage ahead of me, like was 1 step ahead of me on the next turn to kill Balatik before I could get a damage in, and then Arm to the Teeth. So it was real close. Just
Yeah.
FN, too good, broken. We should talk about him today. What do you think?
I feel like we should. I think we should make this an entire episode about FN 2199. I call him FN. A lot of other people call him 9s. So the reason I want to talk about him so much is because we had the errata to fast hands. I think 9s was already popping up as a real contender. And with POMAS being, not decimated, but knocked down a peg, Vader Raider knocked down a peg, I think 9s has become the clear favorite. What's really interesting about that, Mike, is I haven't seen tournaments reflect that yet. I've seen almost every tournament won by some 9s deck, but then the rest of the field, you're like, that's a really weird looking 9s deck. I wonder what the rest of the field looked like. And then I've had the TO contact me and be like, okay, so it was a 34-person field. There were actually only 3 9s decks in the whole field. No fun cars. And I'm like, wait, what? What the heck kind of meta do you guys have over there?
You've had that happen? You heard from the TO and there were no FN decks?
No, there was 3 total out of 34 people, no fun cars.
Okay, so do you think this is what's happening? Like, you know how people weren't playing POMAS at like in the second half of the Store Championship season before the fast hands errata because people were just like, I refuse to do this. Like, we could be seeing that with FN. We could also see people just like, it's late in the Store Champ season. People are experimenting. A lot of the people who have already won them are experimenting. So I could see that. But to say only 3 FN decks, there's got to be like 31 people had to say, I am not playing the best character in the entire game.
I don't think that's right, actually. I think it's been a slow discovery process for some crazy reason. I think a lot of it is that people look at FN's ability. Let's say you've never used him before. You just heard how good he is, and you try him, and you roll in your holdout blaster, and it gets a blank. And then you overwrite it for the IQA, and it's the +3. And you don't really know you're supposed to have Bala already rolled in to be able to link up with that +3, and now you're frustrated. And then you go, screw it, I'm going to overwrite that with my lightsaber, and I got the +2. This deck sucks, Mike. 9s is the most high variance card in the game. It's feast or famine. I hate it. I hate how it plays. I'm done with it. I've heard a lot of people say things like that.
Well, it certainly has a high learning curve for sure. Like you need to know that basic stuff, and like think about how complicated that could be to a new player who's never played it, knowing that they should be rolling Bala in first, for like for example, or like when to roll their Unkars in that match. So there is a high learning curve, so it's a high entry point for some people. And to be honest, like when you say I can't wait to go play my Star Wars game, do you want to play Night Sister, Balatik, and like a random
Yeah.
ass first order trooper that gets
Yep.
shot in like 2 seconds? No, you want to play the characters that you love, like Chewbacca and Jin and
Yeah.
Padme. So I think there could be
Padme.
that
Hold on.
aspect of it
Who's
too.
like, my favorite character is Padme. Oh, God, she's the greatest.
Did you see her in that ripped up white outfit in Attack of the Clones? I'm a pretty big fan.
Fair enough, Mike. Fair enough.
With like giant, wounds on her back, just bleeding from, getting scratched by.
Dude, what
what's
is
that name?
wrong with you? Stop while you're behind.
I really just wanted to name drop the creature, but I can't think. I can't
Oh,
think of it. I'm so
man.
rusty.
I can't remember their name. I know Ackley is one of them.
It was. It's not the Ackley. That's the one that Obi-Wan killed.
Nexus.
It's a Reek.
The Reek.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Did we get them all?
Yeah, but it's not the Reek. The Reek is the one with the horn.
Okay. Isn't it Nexus something? Something. Nexu. The Nexu.
Nexu. Yeah, you did it. We
Woo!
got there.
Thank you, Imperial Salt, by the way. That's the only reason I
Oh,
know
is that how you know?
Yeah.
I know from like reading Wikipedia religiously.
See,
Or used to know.
I'm not that kind of Star Wars fan.
Ah, bummer.
Yeah, I love Star Wars, and I'm a big Star Wars fan, but I'm not the like Wikipedia. I literally know every member of the Cantina's name, as the Cantina band's name. I'm not that guy, unfortunately.
Yeah, like you didn't know Admiral Piet's first name was Firmus.
No, I did not actually. No,
Alright.
no.
We should stop digressing and talk
Yeah.
about FN before everyone
So-
turns it off.
So I actually think the FN situation is more of some people trying him, not liking him, and then also catching up to him. Like he's been around the whole time, and people have been saying he's good, but he hadn't really been winning anything. Pomaz is still there, Palpatine's still there, Vader Raider's still there. All those decks are still there. Emo Kids is a really sexy aggro deck. The Nines deck plays really slow. It's a whole different play style. I think it's just a learning curve, catching up kind of thing, and I just don't think the whole community's caught on to how good at Nines is until somebody really good plays them with a good Nines deck, and then almost everyone in SoCal now is like, dang, Nines is really good. Yeah, I don't know if you knew this. He's really good. And I'm like, yeah, I know he is. Thanks, man. He's really good.
Yeah, I mean, hard to argue with that. But that happened when you started bringing it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the way it's been in Boston because Joe's been playing it, basically since the set dropped. He's won 4 store championships with it. Like,
You'd think they'd have an answer by now. Oh, God, Joe's coming. Let's have an answer to Joe's unbeatable deck.
yeah, I mean, I was lucky I beat him in the first one with Pomaz, and then he like lost to Hero Mill. Just sort of like didn't exactly know that you had to like go wide in time to like and just didn't get there, and so he wasn't in the top 4, so I didn't have to deal with him a second time, and I just got lucky.
Oh, that's nice. Wow, knocking him
Yeah,
out
I'll take
the
it.
top 4. Well, let's talk about some of the different Nines decks. What I've been seeing is that, man, there have been a lot of Nines decks cropping up, a lot of Nines decks actually winning tournaments, and a lot of Nines decks that people are willing to die on a hill to defend as the best deck in the game, which has been really
I don't
interesting for me because I've started trying to play. Like, I've been a Nines guy this whole time, and I feel like I've tried everything. And when someone wins a store champ with a Nines deck I haven't really put a lot of time into, I'm going to try that deck. And I have not found them to be the best Nines decks. And when I say that, man, the people who win those store champs are not happy with me. I don't know if you've seen this, Mike. It's been interesting.
I haven't like necessarily seen. I mean, I've seen it before with you saying a deck is bad and people getting upset, but
Yeah,
man, so many people want to say that their deck is the best.
Yeah.
And it's
really, and it's fine. By the way,
It's
If you
fine. It's
think
just
your
a
deck is the
subjective
best,
thing already. Yeah.
and I say your deck is bad, ignore me. Who cares what I think? Don't get all upset. Just ignore me.
Yeah, and if everyone thinks their deck is the best, like that just it's so subjective.
Yeah.
Like just let everyone have an opinion, and disagreement's fine. Disagreement's great. It makes the game interesting, but
Okay.
I don't know. All these FN decks that we're about to talk about, like only one of them can be the best, right?
Yeah. Or maybe two. Maybe like in different genres. So let's
Sure.
talk about that real quick before we look at all the decks. One of the coolest things about Nines decks to me is that saying a Nines deck, it's difficult because they fit into lots of archetypes. I feel like there's control versions, there's hardcore aggro versions, there's sustain versions, there's like hand control versions with Ventress. There are so many different types of Nines decks. I think it's one of the reasons why he's so good. It's hard to even be like, all right, I got to be ready for Nines. This is how I'm going to beat it. It's like, really? You're going to beat all four archetypes?
Yeah, well, that's what happens when they make the best character only cost 10 points.
Yeah, that was a smart design choice right there.
Good call, FFG.
All right, well, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to read off one at a time a pile of Nines decks, and we're both going to say whether we think they're great, sort of decent, maybe a sleeper deck, or just not a very good deck. And the ones we think that are great, we're going to talk about. All right, you ready?
Okay,
All right.
I am.
First one, we're going to start with the three dice decks that are like two dice of another guy and then a nines. So let's start with Aura Sing Nines.
Good, possibly quite good.
I'm going to go with decent. So why do you think this is a good
Two dice
deck?
aura? Because two dice aura is disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Her dice are sick, and I know there's a little bit of a nombo with needing to discard cards from your hand to and then you want to keep weapons in your hand for FN. But you only have to do that for the 1 or 2 turns, possibly 3 turns, the aura's alive, which just allows you to sort of set up a mid to late game with FN. So I think, she's one of the best characters for fast hands. Like her and Jabba are just like neck and neck for the best characters for that.
Yep, I agree with all that. Again, if there were no other nines decks and it was Aura Nines versus the field, I like it. But I feel like at only 21 health, if you want to go aggro, you can aggro harder. If you want to have, like, I don't know, a better late game, I think you can with a 4 dice deck, whether that's maybe Vader Nines or Dooku Nines. I just feel like Aura Nines is not the best in any of the different archetypes. I think it's just a solid, good deck, but not great.
Yeah, but I will say it is the best of the FN 3 die 2 character decks.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with that, but I don't
Yeah.
think there's any that are great in that category.
Okay.
All right, but let's move on to the next one. IG-88 Nines. Basically the same thing, only without Aura's awesome ability.
Yeah, bad.
It's not that much less damage, man. And you get a free
Uh,
upgrade on IG-88.
Yeah, if you want to use that die side, which is like terrible when you're showing a 2 and 3, and it is that much less damage. You're only 33% to roll damage on each of his dice versus 50. I don't know what when you roll twice. I think it's 55% when you roll 2 33s.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Aura's 75% to hit damage
Yep.
of at least 2. So
I'm gonna agree.
That's a pretty big jump for me.
I think IG-88 Nines is unplayable. The one that I would love to be playable is Grievous Nines.
God, no. I just wrote no. When
Yeah.
you said, I just copied your list. I just wrote no.
Yeah, Grievous Nines is terrible for so many reasons. It's mono red, first of all. You do not get a lot of weapons mono red.
Good luck casting that DT-29
But
with Grievous's dice.
let me put it to you this way. What if we were in a meta, like a pure Phasma meta, where all their characters had like 8 upgrades each, and Grievous is just like, yes, give me all the upgrades, and I don't know. Yeah, it's terrible.
But are you going to kill anyone with that deck? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you are, because you're a 9s deck. You could easily kill a guy with a 9.
Yeah, but you need money to even do Grievous's damage. So, like, where are you getting all this money?
Yeah.
The
That, by
money
the way,
store?
returning to the Aura 9s deck, that to me is one of the reasons I like Aura most, is because you can go, like, roll in Aura, hit the money side, which is the bad side, right, because it's not damage, use her ability, get $2 extra to just be able to slam a weapon on 9s.
I think in a nines deck, the money side's never the worst side.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
agree.
just she turns every card into a logistics for herself is just stupid. It's
Yeah.
just gross.
I kind of think Aura 9s has potential.
Yeah, you could also just like play some personal shields and stuff, or
Yeah.
armor plating rather.
Yep. Here's a deck for you, man. Here's a deck. I
Mhm.
want this to be the best version of 9s desperately. Awakenings Vader Elite 9s.
Man,
Think
I
about this
never
way,
liked
Jen.
one die Vader decks.
We're changing our process. We're changing our mind space here. We are putting in Holocron and just a couple of high-powered upgrades. We're putting in Lightning. We're putting in Mind Probe, and we're putting in something else. Maybe just those 4. And then maybe even we're putting in Force Speed, so we can roll in the Vader and then be able to Force Speed, do crazy things with 9s. My question is this. Do they have to kill Vader then before they kill 9s, or can they still just kill 9s?
No, they just kill 9s.
Okay.
And honestly, the only thing that's scary about that is like if you get Vader with 2 Z6s, that would be.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Darth Vader in that hallway at the end of Rogue One with 2 riot batons? It'd be dope.
I think I'd rather see him with 2 lightsabers, to be honest. But
Yeah, but I
whatever.
mean, like
He looked
didn't-
like an idiot with riot batons. What are you, joking?
All right, I just want to point out that you called Darth Vader an idiot, not me.
Okay, that's true. When he
not going
comes
there.
over and crushes me, I will have deserved it. We both know that. But yeah, I think it's bad. But if Gen Con was not around the corner, I'd be putting some time into this deck. Like, I'd make videos about it, and I'd have a great time trying to make this deck work, knowing it wouldn't work. But with Gen Con around the corner, I just don't have time to do that. So someone else make that work. Let me know your list, and I'll probably trash it. All right. So those seem to me to be the 3 dice, 2 character decks. To be honest, I don't think I would play any of them, because for me, if I'm only going to play 3 dice, I want 3 characters for the health pool, but I really want 4 dice. Is that where you're at? Are you
Yeah.
pretty much a 4 dice 9s guy?
I would very much prefer 4 characters.
4
I mean, 4
characters,
dice.
nice.
But I admit that, yeah, I want to play 4 characters. But no, yeah, if I'm gonna go 3 dice, I want the maximum health pool.
Okay.
And then like when we go over these, like for me the question is like, is the HP more significant than the dice? And even when it's like the 31 health ones,
Yeah.
it's tough, man. Because yeah,
Yeah.
you're just all in on FN.
Yes.
And if he dies early, which like he can,
Yeah.
it's rough.
All right. Well, let's look at some of these then 4 dice 2 character decks, and let's start with Jabba 9s. Is that legit in any universe?
If we could build a mill version, I think it could be. But I don't know if it's enough to just like fast, like let's just say that we played fast hands. I don't know if it's like actually in there, but you fast hands Jabba, you strip them for 2. Because like, what's the best thing you're doing with Jabba? Like disrupting or discarding from their hand, and
Or
like,
taking their resources so they can't drop the weapon.
yeah, I meant when I said disrupting, I meant like
sorry.
actually doing his disrupt side. Yeah, no
Yep.
problem. So you can't like that's not bad, but it's such a small payoff for like the big investment of half your team.
Yeah.
That like, and you're never able to just like strip their whole hand. You can get the 2 disrupt going and take all their resources, which is strong. But then like, if that's the case, then why aren't we just on the Unkar deck? You know what I mean? It's just not better than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. I love the idea of being able to go fast hands on Jabba, first action, roll out, take away their weapon that they were going to put on their 9s. I think that has real potential, but it's only a 2 and 5 pull, right? Like, what if you miss the weapon? Now you have a dude that doesn't do anything next to their 9s and his buddy that is doing a lot. And
Yeah.
so I think best case scenario, I love Jabba. If every time you could promise me I'm going to hit both of their weapons or take all their money, maybe. But yeah, I don't think that's a viable approach.
Yeah, because like if that was the case, why wouldn't we just like play fast hands and Funkar and like always try and do the disrupt 2 and like take their resources at the start of every turn?
You
or
know
like
what?
maybe
Why aren't
even,
we doing that? Why
I don't know,
aren't we doing that anyway?
you could even play a Vibro Knucklers on him with fast hands and just try and strip 3. Like you could do that.
Yeah.
Could.
You know what? I think I'm going to try fast hands in my Funkar deck. The problem with Funkar, though, that is the tightest list I've played in a while. There's like 8 cards already that are like, dude, try me.
Yeah, you're gonna have to like take the red pill and just like get yourself out of the matrix to like rebuild that the right way.
I kind of feel like you're right. Just start over. Completely start over.
I mean, you'd have if you really wanted to put fast hands in that deck, you're gonna have to let go of something that you care about.
Yeah, I think it might be Imperial Inspection at that point. Because
Yeah,
so
because
many
it'd be
people
doing
play
right.
around it anyway, that maybe you can just get rid of it, take their resources right off the bat with the fast hands anyway.
Yeah, and people would not see it coming as well.
Yep. All right, but bottom line is Jabba, probably not. One
Not cutting.
that is kind of surprising, and if in Awakenings you had just said, here's this dude 9s, here's a Vibro or whatever, a Riot Baton and a rocket launcher, you would probably say Elite Django, Elite 9s is the best deck in the game. Like that would have been so crazy. And now people look at Django as like this awful card. It's really funny how his stock has dropped.
Yeah, it's just his like the one thing he does, which is like cheat, is just like so much worse than all the other ways to cheat now that he's just not that good. And one of the things that made him like super sick was like jetpack.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the FN weapons, you just like so the thing here is generally in the early turns of the game, you're not rolling FN early.
Yeah.
And when you don't roll him early, you don't have any damage for Django to like link up with when he cheats in.
Yep.
And like takes that like sneaks in that action. So like you really only thrive when you can roll in FN first, which is later in the game, probably when he or Django are close to death, and you don't even get to take advantage of Django's ability. So just the games are just shorter, which makes Django and FN like a non-relevant pair.
Yeah. The other thing is you're not putting weapons on Django anymore. Whereas before it was like you could load up Django with redeploys. When they rolled out, they never even wanted to roll out because they're like, well, if I roll out, Django may just roll 7 damage, and what's the point?
Yeah, and that's why like you need his partner right now to activate first, and FN is just not doing that. So there's no threat there.
There's one awesome spot. If you focus on the IQA rifle and just keep rolling +3s with 9s, your opponent will never roll in because they'll be afraid of Django. Boom, we did it, Mike. We broke the meta.
Got there, fam. But like even if you want to realistically think about it, like we have to take resources, like we have to get enough resources that on turn 2 we can like have an IQA and then maybe like play an ambush weapon, like maybe play a holdout or a Vibro Knucklers or something and roll FN in immediately. Then like that's the only time when people might be afraid to roll if you have a bunch of FN dice out there. So like if you really want to do it, you probably want to get to a point where you have a baton or an IQA on FN going into turn 2, and then like with your 2 resources play a holdout, roll it, hopefully resolve it, and then with the ambush action roll FN. So then people will be afraid to trigger Django.
Yeah, and if you look at Django and 9s, I feel like together, 4 like real mains that we're using them as, it's like the 4 worst dice you'll ever see.
Yep, for sure. They're just so low impact.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about then a fairly obvious one, which is the new Vader and 9s, which people call it the Vader Trader deck. Boy, this is an aggro deck, man.
Yeah, this is like the perfect balance, right? You have this FN EFN Anakin combo is exactly 30 points. FN needs resources. Anakin does not give you any resources.
Yes.
Anakin
Ugh.
takes his damage himself with his special, but he also deals out. He's like, one of the only characters with 4 damage sides, and some of them hit freaking hard. He's really strong, and you're like, this to me is like the perfect balanced deck. Like, it's really good, but it has weaknesses. Like, if every deck was sort of like this one, the game would be kind of sweet, because like, here's this
Yeah.
really strong thing, but it just doesn't. It's not too strong in any direction. You have to like have everything work out.
It's
So I
not
think it's
always going to
cool.
work because you may not ever roll resources.
Right. Well, luckily you have Enrage
Yeah.
for that, and then you can kind of like shade towards weapons with like only play weapons with resource sides.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, like what you said, it's a little too balanced for me. Like if I'm gonna run a nines deck, I want to run a broken one, and I feel
Yeah, high
like
variance.
Vader
Yeah.
Trader is like it's close and it's really aggressive, and I think it might be the most aggressive version. And it leaves your opponent with a really tough decision, man. Who do you kill? Do you kill Vader or nines? If you kill nines first and you don't get him pretty quick, and he gets a riot baton and say another weapon, and then you do kill him turn 3, and that goes over to Vader, you are dead.
Yeah, so I actually wrote about this on Monday, where I think like in every single Anakin matchup, you have to kill Anakin, because like if he rolls special for the entire game,
Yeah.
he does enough damage to kill like 50 of your guys and only takes 10, right? I mean,
Yeah.
over 5 turns, he takes 10 and you take 30. So like you can never not kill Anakin first, unless you like have a cunning and can like quickly kill his partner and then use the cunning to for him, and then he's dead.
Yeah. And that's like the dream scenario. They have to kill Vader first. And so nines gets to do his tricks all game. You get boundless because you have the blue. I don't know. That to me is the primary reason why I keep coming back to this list. And I'm like, maybe there's something here. It's just harder, right? Because logistics is harder to pull off with this deck. You really, I feel like, need to
It can be.
find to feel your anger early to make this deck really hum.
Yeah, you could do that. I also think that like if you just really focus on the 2-cost weapons, the like ambush weapons at the start of the game, or like even like I don't know like what everyone's playing in their list, but even just the F11D, and like really trying to roll as many, like get as many opportunities to roll a resource and hit that logistics, I think can be strong. But just to reiterate your point, like this is one of my favorite tenets of deck building, is to build a deck where your opponent has a clear target. They have like I used to, I cut my teeth on Grievous Dooku because my opponents always went after the 2-die Grievous while I loaded up Dooku. It was like no question about it.
Yep.
And I love decks like that where they're gonna kill Anakin, and so like you take the time to set up FN, and it's a little bit like incongruous with the redeploy weapons, but who cares? Anakin doesn't need weapons.
Yeah, and at that point also, if you don't care about redeploy, suddenly you can change everything, right? Now Vibro Knife can just stay down. Now Rocket Launcher gets to just be the final weapon and just crush them for 3 or 4 every single turn. And that could be really strong.
I mean, my rocket launchers only roll blanks, but sure.
Well, you get new Rocket Launcher dice, man. Come on. What are you doing?
Just play Poe and discard them. Seems good too.
That works. That works. So yeah, I think Vader Trader. There's to me, there's really something there. I haven't seen a list that I loved, mainly just because there's other lists that I think are stronger. But man, this thing pumps out damage. It is scary. If you have to leave nines around, you're on to something. All right, let's move on to Dooku nines, which to me is the best of these 2-character 4-dice decks. And for me, it's mainly because of what you just said with the Grievous Dooku thing. This is the same thing, only now they have to kill nines. You get to just put all these redeploys on nines, knowing they're moving over to Dooku. And then at the end game, you have this Dooku, theoretically, that's very hard to kill because he's discarding the cards. He's loaded up. You're getting plenty of money because he's got his dollar side on his 2 dice. He's doing work. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm on the exact same page as you. The being able to now take advantage of the redeploy is massive, and then even then, like if we do a late game, like even just throw a vibro knife on him and roll, like his dice are really conducive to being used with the vibro knife. He has a little discard for like a little extra oomph on the hand pulling in the mirror throughout the game, and then of course you still get to be able to use Enrage and Boundless Ambitions, which are like two of the things that I think really fuel FN well. So this deck seems cool. But one thing is obviously the damage potential is a little bit lower than some of the strongest FN decks. So that's where it gives me pause. But otherwise, these blue-red combos, like you can't really go wrong. And the only things you're really missing out from with not having yellow are He Doesn't Like You and Friends in Low Places.
Yeah. For me, the way I think of this one is this is the high sustain one. And to me, it's a meta call. Like if they're running, if it's a meta that has vibro knives and stuff, then this version becomes a lot worse because you're losing out on what makes this so great, which is Dooku's ability to mitigate so much damage. And so then you're giving up your own damage for mitigation, and if that's irrelevant, then that becomes a problem. And then the other huge problem I have with the deck, and this has happened to me several times, is if you get unlucky at all and Nines goes down turn 2 or 3, which he often will against a burstier deck, if you haven't found redeploy at that point, you lose. Dooku does not do enough to be able to win that game because it takes too long to set him up. He doesn't have enough damage in his dice. And I've played this deck 3 times. I've actually lost all 3 times the exact same scenario where it's like I found weapons, but I just couldn't find the riot batons and the lightsabers in time. Instead, I was finding vibro knives and other stuff. And it felt high variance that happened all 3 times, but that was a real eye-opener to me that this is a real reality that Dooku just can't recover from, whereas other decks can recover from that.
Yeah, and not only that, but I really question the deck's ability to even if he gets only one, is one redeploy enough? Is Dooku and one baton enough? And I don't necessarily think it is. You can, of course, continue to play things on him, but, the clock is ticking at that point, and it really just depends on how much damage FN did. And if he only got one redeploy, he might not have.
Yeah, he probably didn't do much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, to me, this deck is on another level than some of the other Django decks, another level down, just because of what I always said. On paper, to me, I kind of feel like this is the best Nines deck, but then when I really dig deeper and start thinking about all these things we've talked about, it just doesn't feel as good as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, well, let's move to the area that I think we like more, which is more of the 3-character decks. And let's start with the 3-die 3-character decks, because there's not many 4-dice 3-character decks, and I think most people have talked about these. So let's go through the 3-dice 3 characters. This is where I originally went because I came out of Awakenings loving Dooku so much and wanting a way to use him. And so one of my very first decks in Spirit of Rebellion was Nines Dooku Bala. And this was a reaction to the Poe meta, where you can't kill this deck, man. If you put down stuff like Force Illusion and Dooku's ability, I actually never once lost 2 damage with this deck. Now, Mike, what do you see as the great weakness of 3-dice Nines Dooku Bala?
Bala with 1 die is really weak.
Yes.
Really weak.
I originally had Tusken Raider in that slot, but
I remember.
I moved it to Bala just to have some threat, because this deck doesn't do damage. It's the least damaging deck you're ever going to have. Think about these dice. Nines Dooku Bala, their base dice do not do damage, so it's the slowest game ever while you slowly build up resources and weapons. And then if you dare Boundless, you just took a whole turn away from the game, and I was finding that I was getting milled every single game with this deck. Not against mill decks, mind you, just against a regular deck.
Yeah, just like yeah, raise one discard side just blows you
Yeah,
out.
I had to be like, well, I guess I can't trigger Force Illusion this game because I've got 6 cards left and there's like 7 more turns left in this game or 7 more rounds, so I can't even trigger this. What a waste that was.
Yeah, I hate one die Bala in an FN deck. Like one die Bala was fine back in the day because you'd load him up with weapons,
Yep.
and people would kill him so you didn't get the double activation, and then those weapons would redeploy, and you're like, hey, you killed my worst guy, good for you, and
Yep.
you'd blow him out with like whomever else. So like without the ability to do that, I just don't like one die Bala. If anything, like what I really like about Bala in with 2 die and like the Rainbow FN is like his ability to roll resources or like focus
Yeah.
the other Bala die into a resource. It's like really strong.
Yeah. Or you roll in, say, your your rocket launcher. It blanks. Now you want to be able to fix it before you actually roll in 9s. You roll out Bala, you get the focus, and boom, it's fixed.
Yeah, I mean focus is
Yeah. Focus is just amazing.
an incredible die side. It's just great.
All right, yeah. So basically, the deck looks good on paper. Because what you said still works. Like you load up 9s, they have to kill 9s. Then you move this stuff to Bala, and he's like, "Whoa! I look like a chump, but now I'm the man." They have to kill Bala. Then the stuff goes to Dooku, and he's like, "Dude, you are never going to kill me. And I have a riot baton, and I have another weapon. Let's do this." And your opponent's like, "Yeah, well, you don't have any cards left."
Yeah, you don't have any cards left, and like you probably didn't like because like you said the deck's so anemic, you probably didn't kill any of their guys, which is why your guys keep dying, and then Dooku's just gonna follow the same fate.
So there you go. There's that deck. Another deck that I tried early on was 9's Kylo Ren Unkar. This deck has 31 health and does a lot of cool stuff that doesn't need a lot of dice to do it, right? Like you get Kylo's special is really cool. You still get Unkar's ability. You still get 9's ability. So this is another deck that on paper seemed like it could be really strong. Any thoughts on this deck?
Yeah, and it's sort of like the same issue I have with Balatik. Like Unkar just gets so much worse with one die also. Because like the whole great thing about Unkar is like you have these 2 dice that are very controlling. You can disrupt, you can gain resources, or you can trigger his ability almost, often with just his dice. So like by taking that away, you now have to use one of your damage dice. You always have to use a damage die.
Yeah.
To trigger his ability.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just...
And I just don't want to do that.
It's just a weakness. Three dice is tough. Kylo's die sucks. You can say he has a good special. His die sucks. 9's die is bad. Unkar's die, without being able to build around it, like I don't think you can play in Imperial Inspection with one Unkar die and just hope. And so if you're not building around Unkar's dice at all, I think they're not amazing. And so then it's just the same thing we've been talking about. You need to find those weapons early, and it's just, I don't know. I don't think it works that great.
Yeah, I think one of Unkar's strengths is just being able to do the salvage stand inspection thing also. Like 55% always to roll either of those things is just really strong.
Yeah. So another close relative of this is 9's Kylo Death Trooper. We're again at 31. I mean, Death Trooper does more damage than Unkar did. So any positive vibes for this one?
No, I find the same issues with like the Anakin thing where you just don't have resources. And like, well, Death Trooper can also hit pretty hard. Like one of the things that makes him strong is being able to like use endless ranks in a Death Trooper deck. Say with like Unkar, and I just don't see why this deck with 3 dice is better than any of the blue-red decks we've already talked about, other than the hit points. Yeah. And like, if the hit points are really that important to you, you can play more defensive cards in the other decks to get you to that hit point total.
Yep, I agree. I think 9's Django Guavian is kind of similar, where these are all the same problems, right? It's only 3 dice. These dice have a lot of resources, though, which is a little more promising. You can play salvage stands. You can link them up, maybe get more weapons this way. You're still at 30 health. Django's cheating. But I think it still goes back to like the Django 9's thing. Django cheating with 1 die is basically not even being on the board at that point.
Yeah, and like the blue resource sides are so underwhelming. Like And one of the reasons why I don't like Han Rei is because, like, oh, I'm getting all this money, sweet, but you're doing it at the like detriment of all your damage. And like Guavian, like, as sad as this is, Guavian is your best damage die in that match, like with that deck build. So like if you're like using him with another die that's supposed to be doing damage, like you're constantly sacrificing your damage for resources, and you have to like draw really well and like get 3 weapons on FN to like really make that worth it. And I honestly don't know like how often. I mean, there's plenty of games I draw 5 and I'm like, oh, I drew 1 weapon. This sucks. And that deck will especially hurt there.
All right. Well, there's only one more deck I want to talk about in this 3 dice, 3 characters. And dude, this thing won a 34-person store championship this weekend. And that's Nines Ventress Bala. I've already made a video about this. What's your take on it?
I mean, I really just like, I love Ventress, but not the card Ventress. So like, I would love for her to be good, but she's not, and her hit points aren't good. And like, man, if you're playing the Night Sister version, like against this, like Ventress does almost nothing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like why her over Dooku just to make you discard an extra card when you reroll? I don't think that that's good enough to like make this stand up over, you know, the 4-die Rainbow deck, or even the FN Dooku Bala or Tusken Raider version. But man, good job to this dude who won a Sir Championship. I'm not taking anything away from him, but like, this isn't the kind of deck that I want to play.
Yeah,
it's got the low end of hit points and low end of damage, and like a very like irrelevant ability against, you know, one of the stronger decks in the format, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how you see the power of 9s with this particular deck. At this guy's event, there were only 3 9s deck in the entire event. There was no fun card deck, so I don't know what the other 9s decks were. Maybe there were other decks kind of like this, where it was other 3-character decks. And I think the bottom line is, even if you take a lower tiered 9s deck, you're still going to do well against a field without 9s decks in it. Like, that's how good he is.
Yeah, and I think that's true for like a store championship, but like you and I, we've talked, we're focused on Gen Con.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how we can go into Gen Con.
Oh yeah.
Thinking that we can play this like less. So like, yeah, if you honestly, like if I could go to another store championship, I would be bringing Orabala for sure. But like, I'm not playing that at Gen Con.
Yeah. I like I said, Awakening's Vader 9s is my deck. Like that's the deck I want to make good.
All right, good luck, man.
Yeah. I'll do that after Gen Con, and then there'll be a new set, and I'll have forgotten all about that conversation.
Yeah.
All right. There's also the 3-character 4-dice decks. There aren't that many of them, even that you can do. So there's what we call Fun Car, which is Elite Unkar, a Trooper, and 9s. People have talked about this to death. It won the Europeans. Real quick, you think this is a good deck?
Yeah, I think it's a really good deck.
Okay, good. Because if you had said no, I would have just hit hang up. It's a great deck. It's one of the best decks in the field. There's the Rainbow deck, which is Night Sister, Elite Bala, and 9s. You could change that. You could change that to Elite 9s if you want Bala. But the theory there is people have to kill 9s anyway, so... And 9s die is not good, so you might as well throw it on Bala.
Right. You could also do that with Royal Guard as well, which I've really liked and played a ton of. Probably outside of Pomaz or Bala, the deck that I've had the most experience with and success with.
Yeah, and so that's 9s, Elite Bala, and a Royal Guard?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. And that's if you want to keep 9s alive, nothing better than having a Guardian on the table.
Yeah, I mean it's super good against like Phasma decks, Palpatine decks, because you can play all these ambush weapons because you're playing the Vibro Knife and Knucklers. You know your opponent rolls out early, and you can still play an ambush weapon, and he doesn't like you. They're die. It's like it's just got a lot of tricks to stay alive longer. It's just a little bit less damage because the melee sides don't like jive with the Bala dice.
Yeah, I personally think all those decks are good, and what's so cool again is they're different archetypes. The Fun Card deck is more of a control deck that can burst. The Rainbow deck is more of a hardcore aggro deck. And the Royal Guard is kind of like an in-betweener, right? It's like a little bit more sustain while still having a ton of burst. Those to me are probably the three best Nines decks. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Control, combo, mid range. Like that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like those are them.
Yep. So those would be the decks for me. I want to look at some cards before we head out that people have been putting into their Nines decks, and I want to talk about whether or not you think they go in. We're not going to talk about the obvious ones. We're going to talk about some that are a little bit more on the edges. So let's talk about weapons first. And the caveat here is we don't have enough weapons yet. I think almost none of these would go in a deeper card pool. But we have to keep in mind the card pool we have and can't just say no to all of them. So the IQA rifle, what do you think? Does this go in most Nines decks?
Yeah, I love the IQA rifle, and I think it's an include in the Balatik decks and anything that's playing Imperial Inspection. Like I just think I think it's so good.
Yeah, it links up really well when you can roll Bala out first, and then even if you hit the +3, they have to do something about Bala or the +3, and then you just re-roll it again. Like you said, it's great with Funkar because even the +3 just triggers Funkar's ability itself. So that's really good. I personally don't love this card. My thought is if I'm playing 3, it either has to do one of two things. It has to have redeploy, or it has to be bonkers busted like a rocket launcher. And this doesn't do either of those. So I'm not a big fan of IQA. I've been playing it in most of my decks because I have to, but I don't really love it.
Yeah, I just think it's underrated. I also like that, there's also niche opportunities where you can like claim the throne room and do 2 unblockable to someone. I just like it.
Yes, I do like that part. All right, how about the Vibro Knucklers?
5 black sides, like sign me up. I know it doesn't have a resource side, which can be a big detriment, but I love the ambush. I love that like it's one of those dice that you can roll it, you can do 2 or 3 damage with it. You can also like strip 2 or 3 cards from their hand and then immediately overwrite it. But you have such good odds of just like hitting a side that's usable on the spot and then like banging out of there, which is like what makes FN so strong, is that like you want to be overwriting weapons, and it's just the perfect one to like thanks for showing up, see you next time.
Yeah, for a while I didn't like it as much because its sides are kind of weak. It's like a 1, a 1, a 2 damage, and then a 1 and a 2 discard. And if you don't want the discard, then it's really doing a very low amount of damage unless you have free money to chuck at it, which you probably don't because you're trying to put weapons out, you're needing to play removal. So my initial impression was I'm playing it because it's kind of the best available. Like you said, there are no plus sides. You're going to be able to resolve it and get it out of there. But the more the meta's been shifting to Nines decks being best, I'll just say this. On the other side, when someone throws a Vibro Knucklers down, I usually think this: oh God, please don't roll that 2 discard. Anything but that. I'll take 3 damage to the face right now, just not the freaking discard. And that alone has made me think I need to be playing this more.
Exactly. You need to play it because that side is so strong against FN decks. So like, there's no reason not to play it.
Yeah, it's real strong. All right, how about Flamethrower? This to me is the one that I will be the most excited to never have to play again.
I like Flamethrower. Again, 3 black damage sides. 1 that
come on, it doesn't have 3. It has 2. Shut up.
I mean, if you play it against one of these 3 character FN decks, like you're not unhappy to do 3 damage like that. I mean, I'm not. Yeah. And then you have the disrupt side for your Imperial Inspection if you're playing Funkar. So like, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
The big problem is I think of it as having 1 damage side. The special I don't really count, and then the pay side, it's just not that common where when I play a Flamethrower, I've got $1 that I'm planning to use on it. It's more of like, well, goodness, I hope. Like, I kind of want the 4, but I can't really afford to pay the $1. I was saving that for something else. So I'm not a big fan of the Flamethrower.
Yeah, I'm more apt to, You know when you go to Target or Home Goods, they have like all that row of things that they want you to buy, like right near the register at Best Buy. Like I
Yeah,
have that impulse. So if I have money that I was planning on spending later, no, I'm buying 6 boxes of hot tamales and this 4 damage side on the flamethrower, please.
fair enough. Uh, um, so let's talk about some of the weaker redeploys then. Gaffy stick. Gaffy stick, man. Like, this thing is unplayable garbage. But in the right nines deck, it's playable garbage.
It is playable garbage. I think it's best used as a coaster, but it does have a disrupt side.
Mm-hmm.
It does have a 3 damage side.
Got a dollar side.
Yeah. It does. Yeah.
I've done cool plays with this where it's like I've got my riot baton on nines. I've got good weapons I'm cycling on nines, and I've kept the gaffy stick, and now nines is about to die, so I just throw the gaffy stick on nines, it moves over, and then I immediately overwrite it with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, it's like that's its best ability. Like,
Yeah.
here's a quick redeploy for us to overwrite in a second.
Yep.
It's a placeholder. It's a bookmark.
Yep. And hopefully that bookmark will be upgraded, set 3, set 4, set 5. But right now I think it goes in some decks. Like that Ventress deck that won. It had no holdout blasters, 2 gaffy sticks. And that's an interesting choice. It's a mostly melee deck, but still, even in a mostly melee deck, you're like, really? I don't know about gaffy stick.
Yeah, not good.
All right. The last one for me is lightsaber. I've been putting this in my blue decks, but again, I really don't like the lightsaber. It's the same problem as the flamethrower, where it's got that plus side, it's got a pay side. It's just there's a lot of stuff, but it's got redeploy.
Yeah, it's decent. Like you definitely play 2 in the Royal Guard version, but I think that's the only one you do that in. It's just okay. Or you probably play it in like one of those crazy Dooku versions, but yeah, it's just not good enough. But it's what we have now, and it's sort of what we have to use.
For me, it's been like this. If I'm running blue with nines, I've got two lightsabers, and I'm rarely like, yes, dude, I got a lightsaber. But it saves the day more often than not.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, let's talk about some other cards then that I've seen people putting in decks. So the guy who won that tournament with Ventress, he had 2 copies of Friends in High Places in a 3-dice deck. What are your thoughts on Friends in High Places in nines decks?
I mean, I've been testing a little bit of pilots, and I can't even reliably get high places to go off in that, which is like one of the best mathematical deck for it.
Yeah.
So I can't even understand how this card was cast for that guy.
Yeah, I don't either. In Fun Car, I'm tempted by it. Like, I know it's going to be a really feast or famine card, and almost always I will not be able to get it off. But I've definitely had a lot of games where you roll out Unkar and it's the 2 disrupt, and you look over and they have no resources, and it's the +2 money side and you have no resources, and then you roll out nines and you get the +3 on the IQA, and you're like, wow. Okay, let me really think about this. How many do I want to do? Both triggers on Unkar? Do I just want to keep these Unkar dice around to be able to link them up? Oh wait, I have Friends in High Places. Booyah! I got a riot baton on nines. I just won.
Yeah, I mean, did you? All right. So, like, I would love some data on how many times you get a free riot baton in the win, which is probably high. But, like, I also want some data on how many games you play where you're, like, you could even play it now. Just, like, every time you have an opportunity to have high places, like, do a check mark.
Yeah.
And I
many.
think that you will not have many check marks.
Yeah, no. I feel like it's one of these cards where what's going to happen is with a card like this, it's going to work twice. And you're going to be like, dude, if you don't play Friends in High Places, you're an idiot. And then in 40 other games, it gets discarded for a reroll. And every time it happens, you rationalize to yourself like this. Hey, man, the upside is so good on this, and it happens regularly. It happens regularly because it happened twice in your first 2 games that you forget about the, 90% of the time when it's unplayable.
Yeah, and like if we have time, I know we're gonna talk about like cards we want to try, and I think like the better way to do it is to like maybe try the premonitions thing in a blue version.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, another one that I've seen people play is Prized Possession. This is more in fun card where you have the money, you're able to use this to pull a die off and then to overwrite it with a weapon. Any thoughts on prized possession?
Yeah, and I think we talked about this last time I was on. I think it's really good when you can use it reliably, but it's also really good against a lot of the decks that rely on character dice.
Yep.
And like if FN is the meta and we only want to like do well against FN, then like prized possession is just not where we want to be because it just doesn't do that well against this deck. But if like we expect a lot of Poe, a lot of Palpatine, a lot of like Vader or emo kids, then like yeah, sure.
Yep.
And it might be worth like a one of in a fun card deck, but until the meta shifts, if it does at all, like I would leave this on the bench or just run it as a one of.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's a meta call card. You got to know your meta. The hardest thing, of course, is knowing Gen Con. Is Gen Con going to reflect the store championships, Mike, and be like 10% nines, or is it going to reflect what some people think and be 90% nines? I don't know. Someone tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to just meet you in the middle and say it's going to be 60%, somewhere in the middle there.
Whew, that would be a really high number still. All right.
Yeah, it would be insanely high.
How about fair trade? This is going in a lot of people's decks. I can definitely understand why. What are your thoughts of fair trade in Nines decks?
Too inconsistent for me, man. I like a sure thing. I like to know I'm going home with fair trade.
I
you know
agree,
what I mean?
Especially with resources. Like, resources are what you have to have in your Nines deck. So I'm certainly not cutting stuff like logistics and enrages. This would have to be just an extra, maybe I can get some resources. And like you said, it's so unreliable. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, and a great point. I'm not messing with my resources to do this. Like, yeah, sorry. This is not my kind of card. Like, how many times on planet Earth is this card going to like steal the 5 resources from someone's Rise Again or their Endless Ranks or their Crime Lord? Like twice in the history of the universe.
But when it does, Mike,
yeah, that's
you
fine.
win.
There's a lot of things in my life that I'll be happy to never have seen, and this is one of them.
Oh man, okay. So really closely associated with that to me is bait and switch. What do you think about bait and switch in these decks?
I mean, I love bait and switch. I think it's a great card, but like in an FN deck, the number one die side that I want to see is resources, because I know eventually I'm going to roll damage, but I need resources to get there. So I can't imagine a world, like, unless it's extremely late game and FN has 3 weapons on him and he's still alive, but I'm winning that game anyway. So, no thanks.
Yeah, to me, it's not even that. Like, there's definitely going to be moments where you're like, oh my god, I got the +2 on ball and the +2 on ball, and then I rolled the resource on 9s, and yeah, resource is great, but just, man, if that had been a damage, and then you're like, I have bait and switch. Booyah! So, yeah, I can see a moment where it's going to be good, but I agree you usually want to take the resources. The big problem to me is the opportunity cost. These decks are tight, and putting 2 bait and switches in for the one time when maybe you'd rather have damage than the resource. Like you said, the resources are so high impact, I just can't put cards in to change that when I could put other stuff in.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Last card I want to talk about is Friends in Low Places. I know you're a big fan of this. What do you think about it? Does this have to go in a 9s deck?
I've been thinking about this question a lot, especially as our decks get more and more tight.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, it's hard to cut this card. But like, what's the deck it's weakest against?
9s,
right?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter against 9s.
But I'll say this, like, I have won a bunch of games where we've tested the mirror, where I've taken the Boundless Ambition.
Okay.
That's also huge.
Yep. Yeah, maybe that's the reason to keep it in. Because for me, this is best against stuff like Vader for 4 strikes, Poe Maz to get rid of the hit and run, things like this. But if those aren't the decks we're worried about, I feel like this card starts dropping in value. Because another reason we normally play it is to pull the removal, but 9s doesn't care as much about removal. He's just going to cheat in anyway.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that I want to talk about next.
All right. So let's talk about then cards we kind of want to try out in 9s deck. So you can go first. Seems like you've got some good ideas.
Yeah, so this isn't like my original idea. Someone was like pushing it as being like the answer to 9-6 being great, which is premonitions.
Okay.
I don't think it necessarily is, but I think that like if you love the high places thing in a rainbow version, the premonitions, it does what you essentially want it to do. It's still something you have to set up, and it gives you a free weapon. Yeah. So I think that the only bad part is like someone plays their own premonitions and steals your riot baton. So I think it's like worth trying. So I want to try it, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be amazing. But I think like if you're the only person playing, it could be good.
Yeah, premonitions is so interesting with that ruling of being able to steal the other person's card. The other thing is, if one of the answers to 9s is discard, and let's say you put a weapon on premonitions, and then you get your premonitions next turn, and they're first, and they just put a Vibro Knucklers on 9s and roll the 2 and pay 1 and yank 3, and one's the premonitions. That's a pretty huge blowout.
It's a massive blow. Massive.
So, I don't know. I mean, but on the flip side, you've got your 1 left, you boundless, you pull your other premonitions, now you get another weapon that goes down, and then you get to overwrite it a couple times. So, I don't know. I can see all sides of this equation, but again, to me, it's opportunity cost. These decks are so tight, I don't know if I can squeeze it in, but I think you're right. I think it's a place we should be trying. Whether or not it's an answer, I don't have any idea about that one yet.
I definitely think it's worth a shot. It's just like that the variance is too like the ceiling's too high.
Yeah, I think it's especially good in something like Dooku 9s, where if the worst case scenario happens, you could still end up with a free weapon on Dooku later.
Yeah, I think that that's a really good point.
A card that I'm interested in trying is Close Quarters Assault, and I'm more interested in trying this in decks that want to beat 9s. But even in a 9s deck, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. You could probably pick off 2 in their hands in a surprise way. It just may be better to do this with Vibro Knucklers and other cards, but I don't know. This is a card that feels good against 9s right now.
Yeah, you suggested it to me the other day, and I've already expressed I have a penchant for the Royal Guard version, and like kind of got me excited because it plays Knucklers, it plays Knives, it plays Royal Guard. Like even if you're just playing it to grab 2 or 3 cards from their hand, right. That could just be massive. So that's a card that I'm definitely putting in on my list ASAP.
Okay.
To try.
Exactly. Anything else you're going to try?
Yeah, I have 2 more, and one of them involves like a list that you didn't put on your list, and I was going to try and squeeze it in, but we just sort of segued quickly, and that is EFN Night Sister with 24 weapons, like the all-in combo version.
Oh wow!
Because if Unkar's the control, and like the Night Sister version's the aggro and the World Guard version's the mid-range, then like this is the combo where you play like DT29 and just stuff like that. And then so you play Award Ceremony to draw 3, and then you have like a 3rd and 4th Boundless Ambitions.
Yeah. That was really popular at first. I feel like that was the first 9s deck that got really popular, is that type of style. I don't think it had 2 Night Sisters, but yeah, what do you think about that style?
I don't know. I haven't tried it. I just kind of got excited when I was prepping for the podcast. I was like, ooh, EFN Double Night Sister with a Wood Ceremony and Boundless and Enrage and Logistics, and then just like 22 weapons. I think that's the number.
I think that's going to be better in set 3. Right now, if I think about 22 weapons, I'm like, oh god, those weapons are really bad.
They are, but we'll try and you can't play the lightsaber pike in this one, but we can try and
okay.
We can get the DT29 in there doing work. It's probably the best DT29 deck there is.
I guess. I didn't know there was a good DT29 deck.
There may not be, but this is the best one.
Well, let's talk about then what we're going to do with this deck. We're going to ask the lame question first before getting to the more important one, and that is, if we are so convinced 9s is so good that we spent a whole episode on him, does he need to be errataed? How would we errata him? When would he be errata? Do we expect an errata before Gen Con, I think is the starting point. Mike, do you expect in the next couple weeks an errata to come down to nerf 9s?
If we hadn't gotten the fast hands errata yet, I would say absolutely it's. But since we got an errata, I find it hard to believe that they're just going to have another errata. I think what's going to happen is it's going to dominate Gen Con, it's going to dominate Nova the very following weekend, and then it'll be errated before regionals and worlds.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is, like you said, with the errata, and with the Lucasfilm equation, even if they decided, like, okay, we nerfed fast hands, oh no, FN has really jumped to the forefront, I don't think they can churn out an errata in 2 weeks anyway. So I think this is just the meta we've got. You're going to have to deal with this. And then, like you said, after Gen Con and Nova, I think with the release of Set 3, they're just going to wait till that anyway, because that should be right after it. Kind of see how Nines goes with Set 3, see how that shakes out, and then do, you know, the next set of erratas to try to figure out the meta at that point. And who knows, maybe there's going to be an anti-Nines cheating card in Set 3 anyway.
Well, the way they're going, won't they have to do an errata before Set 3 even becomes legal? Won't they, like, screw up some cards that they have to fix?
It depends what they spoil and I find. I mean, remember, I made a whole video about that smuggler guy, and everyone's like, Tiny's an idiot, that's fine. And they were like, no, Tiny's not an idiot. That's not fine. We're going to errata him.
Everyone just thinks you're an idiot for various reasons.
Yeah, and that's
you can't
fair.
pinpoint one. Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not an idiot. Let's be clear, Mike. I never said that.
Just not for the smuggler.
Yeah, just not for that one. I think the bigger question is, how do you errata him? To me, the easy answer is you just slap the limit once per turn on him. FFG does that generally. I've seen a lot of people say that makes him garbage. I don't think it does. You still get every turn the opportunity to get one free rollout of him that cannot be mitigated, and then to use him, and he only costs 10. Like, if he was 14, 18, I'd say, yeah, that's too strong of a nerf, but the dude costs 10, man.
Oh yeah, you'll just people play less weapons and and be less concerned about which weapons they're playing. Or not less concerned, but like,
yeah,
you just like you just aren't constrained to building around FN. You can just play a good stuff deck and just play all the good things you want to play.
Yep. All right. Well, that's kind of irrelevant. If we don't think it's coming anyway, like I talked about before, I'm not really thinking errata until post-Gen Con. That's when I'm going to start evaluating from that perspective again. So more important than that becomes then, Mike, what beats this? And this is the problem. You can't just say, hey, Mike, what beats FN? Because we already talked about it. It's at least 4 different archetypes. So, Mike, what generally might be able to handle this FN character, no matter what the archetype is?
All right, so what I tried to do to tackle this is like think about what is bad against FN that is generally been good against other decks, and that's like removal. Like you mentioned it before, but FN sort of just like stands up to removal, doesn't really care about it, because like I've got to invest 1 resource and 1 card into like electroshocking this like die that you're going to overwrite and reroll anyway. It's bad. So one of the things that I think could be good against it is cards that mitigate multiple dice at a time. So and not even at a time, but over the course of its effectiveness. So even a card like Dark Presence or a Guardian or Phasma giving 2 of your guys Guardian. Yeah. By like having 1 card that mitigates multiple dice, I think is like where a strength could lie in slowing it down. So like a Phasma deck with 2 non-uniques, Dark Presence, things like Abandon All Hope is also good, but not for this reason. It just sort of like popped into my head. But it hits multiple resources or multiple cards. Sure. Defensive Position, if I didn't mention that already. Mind, I don't think necessarily Mind Trick, but like if there was another card maybe that we found that was similar to Mind Trick that Negotiate, gets rid of multiple dice. So things like that is where I would look.
Okay, I think that's fair. Real quick, we forgot to mention the Phasma deck. What about Phasma Guavian Trooper 9s? That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, why aren't you just running the Ibala Royal Guard version? Like, I don't think it's better than that. Yeah.
My buddy Jimmy brought that to an event, and he told me it was the secret unbeatable deck, and then I beat him once in the Swiss and once in the cut. But he did beat everyone else.
I mean, I think that like Phasma's good and Guavian's good and like giving it Guardian's good. I just don't think it's necessarily better than the 4-die Rainbow version with Royal Guard.
Totally agree. In an event without a lot of 9s, that deck wins. In an event with the better 9s deck, I think the better 9s deck wins. All right. Yeah. And we've said that basically the whole episode. All right, on to the next thing. I think hand control is the answer to 9s. Now, I don't know if that's mill decks. I don't know if that's just close quarters assault, and when you roll raise mill side, you just instantly use it. When you roll the Vibro Knife mill side, you instantly use it, not looking to get the unmitigatable damage. But I think hand control is a real good answer, and I gotta say, I keep thinking Jabba with fast hands on him is so crazy against 9s.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, but I also like sat there on SW Destiny DB today and last night, like trying to find a pairing for Jabba fast hands, and I could not. I just couldn't find something good.
I got one. This is Smurley's new deck. He's got Elite, Jabba, Night Sister, Guavian Trooper. Boom. Drop the mic.
Okay. And like you want because Guavian lets you loose ends really well.
Yeah, Guavian lets you loose ends.
And Night Sister lets you loose ends. Like that's a great loose ends deck.
Yeah, but it also means that you put the blackmail on the Guavian. You put the fast hands on the Guavian, and then Jabba just does his stuff, and you still have to kill Jabba first. Otherwise, he destroys your hand, and Guavian just kills you also.
And you played this last night, and you went 3-0?
I played this last night in a warm-up game, and I emptied his deck with my loose ends. It was amazing. Over 4 rounds, I could not get the last 2 cards out of his hand with a Night Sister and a Guavian on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ran out of time before the tournament started. I am not sure I was going to win. Yeah, I'm not sure it's good. But I think it's promising. It's promising.
Well, I have asked myself, what's the best loose ends deck? And I didn't come up with that monstrosity, so
there you go.
I'm in. I'll give it a shot.
You're slipping, man.
I know. I really am.
Any other ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see if this cargo hold thing works. Everyone kind of tells me it works, but I've yet to see it work. So I think it's pretty easy to play around. But hey, maybe there's I think I wrote about this like on the Hyperloops that I think if you're going to cargo hold, you need to new orders too.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, I haven't seen anyone do it. I've had people sleeve up cargo hold against me, and it just hasn't done enough. So
yeah,
it's one of those things I want to see.
The problem for me is I can't find the right deck for it. It feels like every deck it goes in is just a little too weak. Like Obi-Wan Rey, I feel like it's close, but I just don't think it deals with these explosive 9s decks well enough to make cargo hold be the answer. I feel like a possibility is Han Rey, and this gets to my next answer, which is Shields is really, really good against 9s. And I wonder if Han Rey with like heavy shields, you got the 2 cautions, tons of ambush, and just shielding all over the place, if that could be the answer.
Yeah, I think if you want to answer that question, you should watch the top 4 of the TTS Season 2 tournament. when that comes out. I think you should see how that goes.
It almost sounds like you're dropping spoilers about something that you shouldn't be dropping spoilers about.
I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that the matchup, you will see some of those things play out.
Oh, okay. So you don't know what happens. You're just saying it'll be a good representation of that matchup. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem, of course, with that deck is Han needs to roll damage or 9s is going to blitz him off the table anyway.
Yeah, and just like my rocket launchers, my Hans don't roll damage, so I don't know what that's like.
So another one, though, with that is Phasma. And you could go heavier on the 3-drops so that Inspection doesn't beat you as hard. You could maybe even play like a personal shield with her along with the hunker downs and stuff, and really just try to protect her, grind to late game, get all those upgrades out, and do typical Phasma things.
Yeah, I think Phasma's really good, and I think it's been undersold. I don't think it's as bad versus Funkar as everyone else does if you build cognizant of your bad matchups.
Yeah.
So I know that's something that we're working on at the Hyperloops, and like people will be able to see more of that in the next 2 weeks because it's something we're giving serious consideration to. We wanted to sort of see if people were right about it being bad versus fun car and stuff. So that's something that like we're really looking at. I think you could be right.
Interesting. Anything else you've got here?
No, not for being good against it.
Okay.
Like other than just like killing their FN first seems to be huge.
Yeah, it really does. Kill FN and move on with your day.
And hope.
Well, you know what, Mike? This has been an hour and 20 minutes of just Nines talk. I think it's time to get out of here. And thanks so much for coming by, Mike. And again, you can find Mike he is the Hyperloops. He has like these two dudes he chains in his dungeon and lets them write, but they don't get to be seen. They don't see the light of day. So nice work with the Hyperloops.
Like, yeah, it's like, you know, I'd love to take the credit, but Joe and Nick do a ton of work, and like we just like you've kind of helped me out for. We just put out a ton of content, and like it's great having two guys that I think are solid. So I'll happily be the face and the voice at times, but you know, I give those guys all the credit in the world in all seriousness.
Yeah, I would like to have actually some other people on my team to be able to have more content. It's real tough as a single content creator. I think it's great to have teamwork to really be able to get content out there regularly.
Yeah, man.
All right, well, good job. Anywhere else people can find you on the internet?
Yeah, just thehyperloops.com, thebetterbet.com if you like NFL football, patreon.com/thehyperloops, youtube.com/thehyperloops. That's it.
All right. And you can find me at all the usual places. Tiny Grimes Games on Twitter, Tiny Grimes on Twitch. I'm streaming. I streamed the Ventress deck. People were really, really mad about that for some reason. You can find me on Patreon, Tiny Grimes. New tier list is going up real soon now. We're having all kinds of discussions over there. If you want to generate a question or two for my AMA episode for next week, submit something, and we'll see you next time on the Smugglers Den.